So I'm Sophie Maxwell, I'm from Sheffield and I'm the founder of the Really NEET Project. My journey really began when I was 4 years old. My stepfather was abusive and I lived with him for 10 years. And finally, when I was 14 years old, my mum decided to up and leave with us to escape the violence, and it meant that I was pulled out of secondary school, missed out of all my secondary school education, and by 16 years old I was homeless, living in hostels. Missing out on so much of my education, when I became homeless at age 16, I was really very lost. I think I had absolutely no idea how to look after myself at 16 years old, and something quite tragic happened to me. I witnessed the death of a friend from a heroin overdose when I was 17 years old, and it was that shock of him losing his life that really made me consider what I was going to do with my own life. And I walked into my local college and I said I'm ready to regain my education, and a tutor called Paul Casson, he took me on, and he believed in me through thick and thin and said that I could regain my education, and unfortunately he died of cancer before I graduated. But it was that one person believing in me and saying that I could make it to university that motivated me to go on and achieve what I did. A lot of it was getting out quite a lot of the emotion of what happened to me in the past. The first person that really had listened and talked through what happened with me. And then I think it just sparked that kind of passion in me, thinking if someone can face death like Paul was and input into my life, then I really wanted to give back to society myself and go on and almost do what Paul did in a way. So I think I was very lucky to meet Paul. And so I went on to graduate in 2009 at Sheffield University, and it was ready for me to start to give back, and that's when I set up the Really NEET Project. In the early stages of the Really NEET Project, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. All I knew was that I wanted to make a difference. So I started going out and approaching the secondary schools and the primary schools and saying, listen, I'd really like to work with some of your disadvantaged students. I'll run a project, I'll do athletics coaching, I'll do sport, whatever it is, I just want to work with young people that are struggling. And I approached some of the most disadvantaged schools in the city, and one of the schools said, love your story, love where you've come from, and I think it's brilliant that you want to make a difference. Would you be up for teaching Maths and English GCSE to our excluded students? And I didn't have a Maths and English GCSE at that point, but there's a little voice in my head that always says do it. I took on the project, and 5 months later all 8 students took their GCSEs, and that made me believe that I could make a difference. And it kind of formed then what I wanted to go on and do. After running 26 back-to-back projects, winning 2 National Crisis Changing Lives Awards from the charity Crisis, recognising that I was a homeless young person and I changed my life around, that kind of made me start to really believe and that I could make a difference in life. And I set up the college model as it stands today, that now works with over 140 young people across South Yorkshire. Somebody once told me about Theseus and the Minotaur, the Greek myth, and that Theseus was dumped in this labyrinth and he had to escape the Minotaur that was chasing him all over the place, and he didn't know the way out. But his true love Ariadne had left him a thread, and he was able to follow the thread out of the maze to save his life. And a mentor that told me this also told me that there is Ariadne threads everywhere in life, and sometimes they're very thin and we can't see them, and we don't realise they're there, but there is actually a way out of every single situation in the world. If I could go back and talk to my 14-year-old self, I would definitely reassure that version of me that it does get better. I think, I was so lost at the time. I had no school around me, no family support, no friends, and I think I was incredibly isolated. and didn't believe that I had a future. So I would say to my 14-year-old self that stick with it, because you know it does turn around, and you know if you're prepared to put yourself out there and try and make a difference, your whole world can change in an instant.